Hi everyone, Helen Blunden here. It is time for another book review, and this time round I'm really delighted to review Celine Schillinger's book Dare to Unlead, The Art of Relational Leadership in a Fragmented World. Now, the book itself was published recently in 2022, and I know Celine through the Twitter networks. We've been in contact over the social networks for some years now. But it's been unfortunate that I haven't met her in person. When I spoke to her last through a Zoom call, she was in the middle of writing her book, and I do recall her excitedly talking about the book, and I do remember thinking that it would be a book that I definitely want to read and couldn't wait to get my hands on so I could get a physical copy and have a copy sitting there on my bookshelf. But it was published this year and I couldn't wait for the physical book to come to my local bookstore. So I bought the book and I downloaded it as an ebook and read that. The book itself is a collection, a very well thought out collection, highly referenced and peppered a lot with a lot of her history, her background, and also her career working with a pharmaceutical company in France called Sanofi, and where she talked about how she led a movement of over 4,000 people in the company to develop better vaccines for dengue fever. It was actually quite inspiring to read her story and to also see the challenges that she had working in such a company and working in a situation where they had a very complex problem to deal with, sorting out vaccines. And how she did that and how she inspired a movement of over 4,000 people to be able to cross-collaborate, cross-create solutions that were very different to what they would have done in the past. Now, Celine in this book uses her French background with the themes that she knows so well, that we know so well, of equality, fraternity, and liberty. Sorry if I haven't said those in the correct order, but I really love how, unlike a typical English American leadership book, she actually weaves these very themes that defined France's independence and the story of France and the culture of France, but puts it in the context of today's world and today's world of work. I mean, after all, when I think about it, that is what it's about. It is all about liberty, equality, and fraternity or collegiality. In this book, she pulls in these themes of how can we have more liberty at work? And when she means liberty at work, how can employees feel enabled, that they have a voice to be able to show and share their work without fear of consequence or retribution from their managers or leaders or even other people? The book itself then turns into, from liberty, talks about equality. How can we inspire more equality in our work? How can we inspire people to understand that every person in an organization has a part to play in the success of that organization? And last of all, fraternity. How do you inspire more collegiality, more friendships, more relations? She uses the word relations in our work across team, across the silos. And so these big themes really relate to the future of work. It's not really the future of work. These themes relate to today. So one of the things I loved about Celine's book, as well as being highly referenced, there's an excellent bibliography, so it's a lot of references to different thinkers and writers out there. What I also liked is, because she melded those three things, is that she also talked about the world in general. She took an approach, a global approach, looking at what is happening outside the place of work. There's a lot of change. There's the crumbling of democracy in some regions. There's the rise of populism and authoritarianism. There's a rise of grassroots movements. There is a lot of change that is really impacting the way we see the world and the way we relate to each other. But meanwhile, there is the world of work, which is a microcosm, maybe not a democracy, as she called it, something else. It's not a democracy, but we are working within something that is challenging the very same challenges and ideals and changes that are happening outside the world. She brings the world, she brings the work, she brings also her stories, and a highly referenced book where you can explore other references that she mentions in there, and pulls it together to really tear apart the definition of leadership as we know it. I don't think this is going to be a book, and it should be a book, where it is used in business schools today, simply because what she is saying is a complete flip of the typical leadership theory that we're usually getting in today's world of work. And it'd be really interesting to see now, with the rise of more virtual technologies and more enterprise social networking systems in organizations, how these will challenge the way business is run and the way leaders lead in an organization. In a book, she talks about the fact that leaders shouldn't be seen as heroes. They're not the lone hero that goes out and charges forward and inspires others to go with them. A leader is all about someone. A leader could be everyone. A leader is someone who inspires and enables the voice of others. And this is what I loved in her book, how she really provided complete 180-degree different definitions of leadership in today's world. I had to put this book down a few times simply because I got angry at it, not at what she was writing. I was getting angry at the situation that organizations have placed themselves in today, and how sometimes I feel it can't be that hard. It can't be that hard to allow people to have the agency and to change the systems that are within organizations, to make them more free-flowing, to make them more relevant, to make them more impactful, and to make people feel safe that whenever they offer suggestions or they do something a little bit differently, that they are listened to, that they are watched, that they at least are given the opportunity to support and solve organizational problems. The other thing I really enjoyed about this book is that Celine approaches it from a non-English speaking background. So we don't get the very typical English American view of leadership. It is very different. When I was reading the book, it struck me that Celine was working for an organization, a European organization, which was a lot more hierarchical, a lot more power-based, and a lot more traditional than, say, many of the Australian organizations, because culturally we're very different. So it struck me as a wonder, and I was in awe and inspired by Celine's work, knowing that she was able to do this and inspire this movement in such a traditional organization, which then just goes to show that if it can be done in such an organization, it really can be done everywhere. So as leaders, CEOs should be connecting and enabling people to all have a voice, and an equal voice in organizations to solve complex problems. So look, that's all I have to say for the review. I highly recommend it. I recommend it for you to buy the book and also to give it away as a gift to those people who are in positions of leadership. I'd really be interested to see what CEOs and other managers in organizations who have read the book, what they think and how they would define their own challenges to be able to do what she mentions here in this book in their own organization. So thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. If you've got any comments, please put them in the link below. I'll also put in Celine's contacts for you to get in contact with her through Twitter or through her blog. All right then, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Bye for now.